Hello. Today we are chatting to Giselle Gould, Business Development Director of Fairhead's Benefit Services. Hello, Giselle.
Good morning. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Giselle, there are a large number of people who pass away in service and then their children suffer. What would be the options in terms of distribution of any of their proceeds once this happens?
Shrika, just to start off, I think people need to know whether they belong to a retirement fund of some sort, whether it's a pension fund, a provident fund, or retirement annuity. And if you belong to any of those, you should have completed a nomination form. Okay, and that means that the nomination form, you need to indicate what do you want to happen with your pension and provident fund proceeds in the event of your death. How should it be distributed? Who are your legal and your financial dependents? And indicating that, you also need to understand what the options of the trustees are to distribute that amount.
And do you find that each and every person who belongs to a retirement annuity, a retirement fund, or a pension fund knows what their options are? In terms of beneficiary funds, do people realize that there is something like a beneficiary fund?
Unfortunately, sadly, very few people know about that. It has been newly introduced in 2009, and when you belong to any of these funds, you need to complete your nomination form. Normally, your fund should give you a benefit statement at the end of each financial year, which should come with the nomination form. So people need to complete that. You need to indicate who your dependents are and in which way they are dependent on you. For instance, your younger children would be more dependent on you than your older children. Mm-hmm. So that needs to be clear. You need to understand your options, what the trustees can do with the proceeds. They can either pay it cash to the person that's going to look after them, that would be called the guardian, mm-hmm. or they can pay it into a beneficiary fund. So you need to know for yourself what is a beneficiary fund and how it can work for you.
So to people out there who do not know what a beneficiary fund is, how would we go about explaining that to them?
Okay, I think it's very simple. It's just to understand that it is a fund that has been established for the proceeds of minor children, that mm-hmm. would be children under the age of 18. Mm-hmm. So any proceeds that the trustees of the Provident Fund decide to allocate to these children can then be paid into the beneficiary fund for their needs.
What happens if the fund that I belong to doesn't have that option?
Well, I think if the fund normally they should be communicating this information to you, and you should understand that these are your options. Mm-hmm. If they haven't communicated it to you, you should be asking them for that information. Or if they haven't given you that information, at least you should be able to state on your nomination form that you would like the proceeds of your children to be paid into a beneficiary fund.
What are the benefits of a beneficiary fund?
If you look at it this way, that if, for instance, a lump sum is paid to whoever's looking after your children after your death, and that person doesn't have any financial literacy about investments and how to look after that money and how to make sure it lasts for your children until they can take care of themselves, then you should consider the fact that a beneficiary fund can do just that. For instance, the money is invested on behalf of the child. Whoever's looking after the child can receive a monthly income to take care of the child. A big emphasis of beneficiary funds is the education of children, and that would mean that a big portion of that money in there would be looked at by the trustees specifically to make sure the education expenses of the child is covered.
Do you find that the nomination of a guardian plays a very important role?
Yes, I think in our society of today, I think everybody's aware that how many single parent households there are, mm-hmm. or how many situations where parents are divorced and that kind of thing. And for that reason, unless you as a member of your retirement fund indicate who the guardian of your children should be, the trustees are going to take longer to gather all that information. So if you have, for instance, discussed with whoever you want to take care of your children, you need to indicate that on your nomination form. So just to speed up things in the event of your death and not delay things and, having your children suffer even longer.
Yeah, having more trauma inflicted on them.
Exactly, yeah. And I mean also bearing in mind the fact that any retirement fund has 12 months to investigate all of this. So do you really want your children to wait 12 months before they can benefit from the proceeds?
Shortly, who would we advise to look at a beneficiary fund? Who would we specifically say, this is for you? Have a look at it. Speak to your financial advisor. Speak to the people who are managing your pension funds? Who do we need to speak to? Who do we need to advise to look at beneficiary funds?
I think your average person, like we all know about bank accounts and basic things like that, everybody should be knowing about this option, because it is a safe option, bearing in mind when this account is set up for your children, it is set up in the name of your child, which means it becomes the assets of your child. So it's a very safe product, it's very tax efficient, and we are aware that even wealthier clients or wealthier members of funds find this product extremely appealing because of all the benefits that it has.
So there are definitely more pros than cons to the beneficiary fund.
I don't know about any cons.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you, Giselle. We'll have Giselle back in studio with us to discuss more of the products.